took it away? Who made you pay? Who's the troll over your troubled water, standing in your way? Who made you cry? Who said goodbye? Who's the one put that t-shirt on you? Religion is a lie. Think life over. Was it all for the best? Take your message, put it in a bottle or on your chest. If you're too close, you can read this. Don't get too close, please don't read this. La 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 la. Hey, my father wasn't always kind. Hey, my mother stood on the side. Hey, my sister, yeah, she almost died. She's still living with a lot of pain inside. If you're too close, you can read this. Don't get too close, please don't read this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my If you're too close, you can read this. Don't get too close, please don't read this.
People of Solomon's Porch, today we meet
In this place, but not only in this place. We tell the story of the light of God.
Light that shines on all people. We tell the story of promises made to those who were too old and too young.
Too broken and too far outside.
We tell the story of deliverance.
Not from this life, but for this life.
We tell of the love of God.
A love from which nothing can separate us.
Not life nor death.
Nor anyone or anything in all creation.
Unique with the Spirit of God.
As the salt of the earth and the light of the world.
We share these stories with one another,
Seeking to be a benefit and blessing to all the world.
Amen.
I'm Heather Lynn, and I have a lullaby I would love to share with you. I began to write it a few years ago when a really close friend of mine first found out she was expecting. I was one of the first privy to this news, and it was very exciting. And she just kept saying, I can't wait for you to write lullabies for my baby. I can't wait for you to write lullabies for my baby. So I went to task and started to write this song. And then shortly thereafter, she called me, and she was in a lot of pain and had an emergency visit to the doctors and ended up miscarrying her child. And not a lot of people knew what she was going through. Not a lot of people knew that she was expecting in the first place because it was so early. And then, of course, not a lot of people knew, as I did, that she had in her heart, within herself, become a mother with all sorts of hopes and love and expectations for what may come and what hadn't been born yet. And so the only thing I knew to do was to finish the song, to kind of love that child with her that really no one else knew, and just love her and honor her as mother. Baby, hear the loons sing their lullaby, love songs on the water. Now don't you cry. Mama will always hold you tight. just as quiet now, don't you wake. 'Cause if there's a storm or constant calm, I'll still be with you to sing you this song. Listen to the silence of the lake. Rosebud, baby blue day, this is your sleep sweetly lullaby. Rosebud, baby blue day, this is your sleep sweetly lullaby. This is your sleep sweetly lullaby.
You already know, because you're here, that Psalmist Porch meets at 7 o'clock, at least for the next week or so. And then soon we're going to be meeting just at 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock. We had a 10 a.m. meeting this morning here, and just an hour ago, with the 5 o'clockers. And you also probably know that it's Mother's Day. And to those of you who are moms, happy Mother's Day. And Mother's Day has a rich tradition. It was made an official holiday in 1914 in this country. But in 1872, it was really had its first start, Mother's Day, and it was a protest of moms. It was moms who were tired of their sons being sent off to war, and so they banded together with the Mother's Day proclamation to say no more war, no more sending our boys off to be the fodder of battle. And so it was a big movement to try to have moms have their voices heard. That didn't really catch on, though. We have a country addicted to war. It was birthed in revolution and stays addicted to such things. So then in 1907, another woman gave a shot at Mother's Day. Started as a church service in Philadelphia, and it started to catch on, spreading first through churches and then synagogues and other places, until in 1914 it became a proclamation of the president to make it an official holiday in the United States. But even at that time, it was something more. It was about your mother, but it was really trying to say that mothers play a significant role in our culture. Imagining, as you probably can, that in the early 1900s, the role of women in American civilization was still questionable to some. Owning land was still a new thing. Being able to step out on your own. Divorce from an abusive husband wasn't allowed in most places. And even women being able to vote was still really up in the air for a lot of people. So the Mother's Day call was a call to show the value of women and the role of mothers in our society. By 1920, it had become a commercial success. Greeting cards, and I'm sure credits for buying those greeting cards and flowers became a big deal. So much so that the woman who instigated Mother's Day turned her back on it and said it's become nothing but a Hallmark holiday, and wasn't behind it anymore. So it has this rich history, Mother's Day, in this country. It comes with the honor that should be given from some to their moms, and certainly happy Mother's Day to all who are. But it's also a day that's full of real pain and difficulty for a lot of people. Many people have difficult relationships with motherhood, with their own moms, with their children. And Mother's Day has this undercurrent sometimes that's not only joyous, it can be very difficult. A friend posted a poem that another friend of hers had written. She posted it this week, and I thought it fit us pretty well. So I thought this would be a fitting thing here on this Sunday night. It's called For All Who Aren't. It reads like this. A prayer of love for those who aren't mothers. Today, may you know all you are. A prayer of love for those who decided they wouldn't be a mother because they dared not for fear that they would replicate a world that tried to destroy them. A prayer of love for those who did, but not by choice. who had decision thrust upon them and now live searching for a love that will catch up to their truth. A prayer of love for those who couldn't, who tried, but it never worked, and those who did, but lost. A prayer of love for those who never got the chance to even try, and who, with all the other pain that lives inside today, bear the fear of being someone else's pity. A prayer of love today for those who hear the word mother with resentment, disappointment, guilt, fear, rage, horror, sadness, ambivalence, or grief. A prayer for those who cannot love their mothers, or mothers cannot love their child, and who no longer have the strength to try. A prayer of love for those who have no day that speaks their worth, that tells their story, that reminds them they are also a gift to the world. A prayer of love for those who aren't. Today, may you know all you are. I thought that fit pretty well with our community, a place where we think the gospel rings like that, a community that wants to say to all who have had the successes in their life, you're welcome and you are a gift to the world, and those for whom things didn't go the way they wanted to or yet have broken their way, which are also included. So I thought that was a fitting telling. So happy Mother's Day to those who are, and happy day to those who aren't.
The old man walked a memory. He walked them all. Haunted by an orphan's pedigree, a whispered call. He felt it like we feel a melody, back and forth believing anything, up and down again on Mary Street. Since the fall, a dirty gown and a pair of feet was all she saw. And reaching out with what she left in her, blacking out just as it came to her. Oh, oh, soothe my soul. Oh, oh, soothe my soul. Ending happily is getting old. Kids are gone, the baby's buried, the house is sold. The makings of a great old tragedy, and the coffee is cold. It came down in shiny tapestry, and lonely's like a fractured family. Oh, soothe my
Yes, no?
Carol, you're on.
I'm on. I'm Carol, and I'm going to tell you about all these things we do at Solomon's Porch, which are a lot of things that are listed there: create, play, think, eat, serve, move, heal, contribute, and gather, like we are tonight. I'm going to tell you about some specific things, and then during the communion time, there'll be slides that'll be going through that tell you about kind of all the weekly things. We have community dinner that we try to do every Wednesday this week, hosted by Tom and Checka Parks, and it will be at the Lake Harriet Playground. So that's going to be in the email as to what to bring, but I imagine it's bring your own family kind of potluck stuff. Yes.
And that playground was designed and built by Tori, who's out there in the family room. So it's a very famous place. A famous playground architect.
Next Saturday we have a Solomon's Porch work day. Speaking of playgrounds, right? Aren't we putting in a playground next Saturday?
Yeah.
So we need all the help we can get from 10 to 2 p.m. Lunch provided. There'll be the playground and gardening. I believe we're going to have a bunch of plants to plant and probably some things going on inside the building. So if you can come over anytime during that 4-hour period and help, that would be just dandy. We have a yoga sanctuary downstairs if you don't know about that, and there's all kinds of great workshops. Next Saturday from 12 to 2, after you work for 2 hours doing something else at noon, you can go do yoga for runners and cyclists. If you've never done yoga anymore because you're a runner and you think, I'm not flexible, I'm too stiff, this is for you. Right, Doug?
Yes.
Attest to that?
I would attest.
Loaves and Fishes is coming up every other month. We provide a meal for about 200 to 300 working people and homeless. We have, I think these have already gone around, so sign-up sheets, if you missed these, sign up to bring food. There's still a few things needed, or sign up to help prepare the food on Tuesday afternoon and to serve the food a little bit later in the day. It's a good thing to do.
Did they get the organization covered with that? Should we announce that too? Is that pretty fair?
Yeah, that's true. We do need a, looks like, I think we have a coordinator. Maybe we need a coordinator for the cooking. No, we don't have coordinators. They're looking for, yeah, thanks, Corey. I think the 2 people that normally run it, Nate Anderson and Andrew DeYoung, cannot make it. So if you are willing to really, like, if you got some time, maybe you know, are a college student and school's over, you got time. Anyway, Riley and Skip Powell are going to be, they've been doing Bible studies, and now they're going to do another one. This one's Fridays at 7 p.m., reading the book, The Spirit of Prophecy. All are invited. They live over right in Edina. Does anyone have anything else that they would like people in this room to know right now?
Hi. Quick thing. I'm Corey, and I'm just going to be announcing this a little bit just because I want people to know that I have Rowdy back there, and we have Pepper too, which is kind of cool. I'm training Rowdy for therapy work, so it's like totally cool to go up and say hi to him and everything, pet him. It's great. If you have children, that'd be even better. And you're willing to let him sort of be handled. I would like him to work with sick kids in the hospital eventually, because that's what my wife does, and it'd be kind of cool to meld our worlds from time to time. So I'm going to be trying to just get him more and more used to being around particularly small people, and we'll probably be bringing him to church quite a bit, but I'm going to keep him either here with me, he wouldn't do as well as Pepper roaming around. Anyway, that's just, his name's Rowdy, and if there's any sort of complications though you have, like, because he's kind of a shed or anything, if there's like an allergy or something and you just really don't like having the dog around, please talk to me and we can work something out.
And I suppose I should say the same thing about Pepper. I do have a leash somewhere that I can.
That was nothing about you, girls.
No, I know, but you're right. But she doesn't shed, so anyway. I thank you all for tolerating Pepper wandering.
Cleans up.
Anybody else got anything? All right. All this is also available online, and let's see. Okay. Oh, all right. This is the part that used to come in the beginning. If you are new here and you would like to get all the information that comes around and all this and everything else in your email box tomorrow, fill out, there's purple sheets on the side of the wooden box on the outside of the hallway there or on the info table. And you'll get it all.
What makes a man rise, makes him fall. What makes a man grow and not grow at all? What makes a man stray from his wife? What makes a man break the heart of his child? And what breaks him down breaks him in. And what breaks him down is what breaks him in. What makes a man rest wakes him up. What beats in his chest fills his cup. What makes a man say makes him
Starting in summer, we're going to do soapbox sermons. If you're up for leading a soapbox sermon, there's little forms to fill out. Last week, we're asking, this is the last week of asking for those, so if you want to do soapbox sermons, now's your chance. 10-minute sermon, anything you want. If there's a topic you would like to have someone cover, but you don't want a soapbox on it, write that down as well. So these sheets are sitting around tables. Take one, fill one out, lean it on in, and we'll start arranging such things. In the next few weeks, we're going to finish the book of Mark. We've been reading it since like January. We are in the 14th chapter of 16 that there are in the book of Mark. Our bulb is going out, we think, on that projector, or it's a child again spilled, that time up on the screen. We can't tell on the bulb. But so if you want just a clean look, it's over here. If you want the psychedelic look, then you look over here. So if you want to switch sides of the room, it's tie-dye funky over here on the side. We've been reading this book, and we've suggested that one of the ways to think about Gospels, especially the book of Mark, is like you would think about. Shh. What's going on?
Just announcing that
Rowdy's causing rowdiness.
Oh, it's Rowdy's fault.
Maybe. Not a lot of churches where the question is, whose dog made the other dog bark during the sermon? It's a thing. It's awesome. The nice thing is they don't spill the communion juice. We've been suggesting that one of the ways to read the book of Mark is to read it as a television show, to think about it like you think about a television series where there's these different episodes. And the episode we're looking at tonight, it's going to be a two-parter. It really is going to end with a cliffhanger tonight. The reading that we're going to do tonight has this interesting characteristic to it. If Mark is a very skilled, the book of Mark is a very skilled storytelling apparatus. It's going to use names tonight in an interesting way. There are some parts of the story tonight that have specific names, like something happened inside the house of Simon the leper. This translation we're reading, Simon with the skin disease. He's given a name. Judas's name is mentioned. But then there's other characters in the story who go nameless. There's a woman who does something so spectacular that Jesus says, wherever the good news is told, the story of her is going to be told. Everywhere in the world, that's going to happen. But she doesn't get a name. It's going to be these three other characters in the story who go nameless. There seems to be something important about that. So, anyway, we'll do the reading tonight, and I'll make a couple comments on it. Maybe you'll find something interesting as well. So, here we go. This is the book of Mark, chapter 14. It reads like this.
It was 2 days before Passover, and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and legal experts, through cunning tricks, were searching for a way to arrest Jesus and kill him. But they agreed that it shouldn't happen during the festival, otherwise there would be an uproar among the people.
So you get this sort of picture, right, that there's the chief priests, legal experts in the Jewish system. They want to see the end of Jesus, want to bring about his arrest and his death. And the people would be on the other side, so they don't want to do it. So you get this classic conflict set up. And sometimes the readings that we do read like people would talk, and then other times, and I don't think I've ever, all the years I've known Dave, I've ever heard him say something like, through cunning tricks, they were going to do. So sometimes it sort of stands out as another way to talk about it. But they were trying to put together some other way to get him arrested. So that sort of sets up the drama in this particular reading tonight, this episode. So here we go.
Jesus was at Bethany visiting the house of Simon, who had a skin disease. During dinner, a woman came in with a vase made of alabaster and containing very expensive perfume of pure nard. She broke open the vase and poured the perfume on his head. Some grew angry. They said to each other, "Why waste the perfume? This perfume could have been sold for almost a year's pay, and the money given to the poor." And they scolded her.
It's now the third vignette in the last couple of weeks where someone does something involving Jesus. Children that came to him, a blind man whose name was Bartimaeus, he got a name. The blind man who was calling out to him. And in both those cases, those closest to Jesus pushed them away. And Jesus said, no. Those people you're pushing away are the people that are supposed to be close. Let the little children come to me. Let's hear from Bartimaeus. Here, she pours the nard. They again scold her, so as you can imagine what's going to happen, Jesus says.
Jesus said, "Leave her alone. Why do you make trouble for her? She has done a good thing for me. You will always have the poor with you. And whenever you want, you can go do something good for them. She won't always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body ahead of time for burial. To tell you the truth, that wherever in the whole world good news is announced, what she's done will also be told in memory of her."
The last line is an interesting one, isn't it? I've been in the professional religion business for 25 years. I'm a personal practitioner of Christianity. I've talked to lots of people about it. Been around a lot of people who've talked about Christianity. Maybe a lot of you have been people who have talked to others about Christianity or been in situations where the good news has been announced. And rarely, other than when someone is reading one of the story or in the complementary Gospels, does the story of the woman with the alabaster jar with the pure nard in it ever get mentioned. Jesus seems to imply, look, this story, what she just did, such a big deal. Everybody's going to be talking about it. You couldn't tell the story of the good news without telling the story of this woman. Curiously, that's not so much the case. Now, lots of explanations maybe for that. Maybe there was a time when it was. Some people have said, well, it got put into the gospel, so there you go. We made it in here. That sort of covers it. But it's an interesting thing, isn't it, how in all of our traditions or all of our religious experiences or all of the way that we've chosen to live out our Christianity, for those of us for whom that's our faith, we pick and choose the parts of the story we're going to tell. Jesus is like, this one, this is a keeper. But in most people's experience, it's not at all. In fact, she doesn't even get a name in this gospel. Some of the other gospels name her. We talked about this Tuesday in the discussion group. Skip is quite sure. No, hang on. The other gospels say that's Mary Magdalene. So she gets a name. But in this one, she's nameless. I think there's something about that. I think there's a theme picking up here where the nameless are supposed to be understood as people who know what's going on. Talk more about that in a second. It's going to come up again. So anyway, that sort of struck me as interesting. Anybody else struck by anything in any part of this story? Visiting, the dinner, the perfume, that could be given to the poor?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just interesting. I was thinking about this earlier today because I went to mother-daughter yoga downstairs with Shelley and Shonda.
Yeah.
And I was there with my daughter. And at the end, Shelley had the daughters give their mothers a massage with like this lavender cream?
Lotion?
Lotion, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I was, so, the daughters, massage their mother's feet and then their necks and up to like the base of their head.
Yeah.
Anyway, back
Base of
here.
their head, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this. And I thought this before, I thought, I bet that one of the only things that was comforting to Jesus when he was on the cross was the smells, that he still could smell that.
Oh, interesting.
From, a few days before when this woman had anointed his body, he said, she anointed my body ahead of time for burial. And that stuff, was probably pretty strong.
Yeah.
It filled the whole room. But I can just imagine that he could still have that scent of that,
Nice,
her
yeah.
loving care for him. He was going through all that.
Nice. Okay, should we keep going or do we want to say? Yeah. You pointing out a hand?
I cut it halfway.
Oh.
Wondering whether I should share this with us. For 30 years or so, I worked professionally as a musician, and particularly in a lot of churches as worship leaders or hired gun. My experience a lot of times is the Christian imagination about what an act of worship is goes about as far as showing up at the church meeting and singing a song. But this example of a lady who sacrificed something that was like worth kind of 8 years worth of wages
That lavender, you can still smell
Yeah,
that,
still
that
smell it.
fragrance in the air. Yeah. When I was in college, I remember I was in a class where I went to a Christian college, and I was in a class where we were talking something about poor people and the gospel and the role of Christianity with the poor. And this phrase was this phrase about you'll always have the poor with you was a big point of conversation in that class. And apparently there was like this argument that some people like to make that Jesus was saying, you're never going to get rid of the poor. You're always going to have poor people. Don't think that the gospel's agenda is to try to bring an end to poverty. And other people were saying, like, it's not what that says at all. This is not at all referencing Jesus isn't talking about social economic theories and systems over the course of time. He's saying, like, as Corey put it at the 10 o'clock gathering this morning, I believe that was still today. It's like all we've been doing all day. It's like a honeymoon or something.
Last
Right?
week.
Yeah. That just keep that to yourself. That Jesus is talking about an issue of you could always do stuff for the poor. This isn't a zero-sum game. We're not living in a scarcity model where if you do something good in one place, that means you're taking it from someone else. But anyway, it sets up the drama, right? Sets up the conflict, sets up the struggle. All right, so the story goes on like this.
Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to give Jesus up to them. When they heard it, they were delighted and promised to give him money. So he started looking for an opportunity to turn him in.
Story 3.
On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread and the Passover lamb was sacrificed, the disciples said to Jesus, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover lamb?"
There's a thing going on with the Passover meal, the festival of the unleavened bread, and this is an annual tradition in the Jewish life, a very big deal. The Passover was one of the prime festivals. Rabbi Joseph has reminded our community around here on a regular basis that Jews and Christians don't know what first century Passover structure looked like. We don't really know. We only kind of know. After the destruction of the temple, a kind of Passover system was created. The Old Testament describes what that was like during a Judaic period, but the time of Jesus is a little iffy as to just what the Passover thing looked like. But they were doing some kind of a Passover meal that was probably something similar to today. But we should remind ourselves, if you go to a modern day Seder, that's not precisely what was going on. That's a 21st century version of it. But there was something happening, and the Passover was certainly a prime festival in the Jewish tradition. So the disciples say, where should we do that Passover meal for us in this community? And then this interesting storyline comes up.
He sent 2 of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the city. A man carrying a water jar will meet you. Follow him. Wherever he enters, say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room where I can eat the Passover meal with my disciples? He will show you a large room upstairs already furnished. Prepare for us there.' The disciples left, came into the city, found everything just as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal."
But isn't it a strange little story? Like, hey, where are we going to do the Passover meal? Just like, all right, here's the deal. Go into the city. There's going to be a guy. He's going to be carrying a water jug. And then you go up to him and say, hey, the teacher asked, where's my guest room? Then he's going to show you a large room that's already put together, and that's where we're going to do it. Right? Like Jesus has this thing set up where there's these people. And in this story, we're not told the name, Judas Iscariot or Simon the leper. It's 2 disciples are sent into town who find a guy with a water jar. I wonder if the way the Gospel of Mark is put together is supposed to ring in the ears of 1st century and 21st century listeners, where we're reminded that in this story, the people who are closest to Jesus, who are named, are the ones who either don't know what's going on or end up being the betrayers. And the unnamed others are the people who are all parts and understand of what's going on. The woman who's nameless is the one whose story is going to be told. The people, the disciples, don't know where the Passover meal should happen. But who knows? The nameless guy with the water jar on his shoulder. Maybe one of the ways we're supposed to hear this is that sometimes as religious people, we tend to think that we all know what's going on, but the others, the outsiders, the nameless masses that we don't know, they're outside. They're out of the story. They don't know what we know. The Gospel of Mark is like flipping that around. It's this giant flip that you see all the time in the Gospels. The perceived insiders don't know, and the outsiders are in on it. Something interesting in there.
It's like the French underground during World War II.
Nice.
People that were, saving Jews, they weren't out for any big cause. They just wanted to protect these people, and they kept it to themselves.
Yeah. It's like everywhere you go, you're going to find these people who are in on it. As opposed to the theory of everywhere you go, you're going to find people that are going to be against you and pollute you. The Pharisees, the teachers of the law, the chief priests, they're in on it. The betrayers are the ones sitting at the table with them. But outside of that is this woman and a guy with a water jar and somebody that's got a house. And that's where this is all going to come together. Something really interesting about the way this story is being told that perhaps fleshes this out in a new way. So anyway, they go and they find the meal. So they end up at this place.
That evening, Jesus arrived with the 12. During the meal, Jesus said, "I assure you that one of you will betray me, someone eating with me." Deeply saddened, they asked him, one by one, "It's not me, is it?" Jesus answered, "It's one of the 12, one who is dipping bread with me into this bowl. The human one goes to his death just as it is written about him. But how terrible it is for that person who betrays the human one. It would have been better for him if he had never been born."
That's ominous. So one of the ones with me is going to be my betrayer.
While they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them, and said, "Take, this is my body." He took a cup, gave thanks, and gave it to them, and they all drank from it. He said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. I assure you that I won't drink wine again until that day when I drink it in a new way in God's kingdom." After singing songs of praise, they went out to the Mount of Olives.
So you can see the structure of church services, right? This is my body given, this is the blood. They go out, they sing a hymn, and then they go out. That's how you're supposed to do it.
They never say that last sentence though, but I assure you I won't drink wine again until the day when I drink it.
Yeah.
You never hear that sentence.
No, you never hear that one, do you?
No.
And the other thing that somebody brought up at the 5 o'clock, can't remember now, is that maybe it was John, music, sitting where Susie is sitting. John said something like this. The thing that you end up doing in churches is like reenacting this very often, very commonly. But if you were just reading the book of Mark, it doesn't sound like Jesus is instituting this for everyone to do all the time. In fact, the thing that he says people are going to talk about all the time is that story of the woman dumping out the perfume. That one's going to be told all the time. As it turns out, this is the story that gets repeated all the time. We're going to do it in a little bit. We got wine over there and juice and crackers and bread. Anyway, we're going to reenact that story. That's interesting. And then Toby, who was sitting right over here on the flowered couch, was an outsider. He's not from these parts, doesn't even live here in this state. Total outsider, said, that line, Jesus took the bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them. He's like, oh, that is the same thing that was said describing what Jesus did at the feeding of the 4,000 and the feeding of the 5,000 that we read chapters ago. And I totally had missed that. He's like, it's almost like Mark wants to reenact that story right here. Takes the bread. Remember when they're like, we don't have enough food, where are we going to get all these people? He says, what do you got? And we got these loaves, and he blessed it and broke it and gave it to them. Now here in this story, there's that language again. And Toby's like, I don't know which one is influencing the other. They seem to be.
Well, and right after both of those stories, he kept saying, "You don't understand, you don't understand, you don't understand."
Yeah, you don't understand what's going on. Do you know what we're doing? Remember the loaves and the fishes? That kind of thing, yeah.
And now he's reminding them of it again.
And lots of work has been done in people's own personal lives, their thinking, church communities, theologies, on, I assure you that I won't drink the wine again until that day when I drink it anew in God's kingdom. Trying to figure out what that is. And lots of theory around all that. Yeah.
I don't know, just kind of reminiscent. Like, it makes me wonder how many times Jesus actually broke bread and gave it out. Because later on, after the resurrection, when he's walking with the disciples, they don't know it's him until he breaks bread.
Until he breaks the bread.
It makes me wonder, how often did it happen that was the thing that they were like, this is Jesus?
Yeah.
You know, like, where that was the unveiling.
Yeah, that's how you see it, is when you break the bread.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people describe the act of eating with other people as one of the great human connecting points. That when you share a meal, that's the place where you share one another's humanity, right? Because there's this, you're engaging together in the basic things that people need. And when you do that in life and culture, when you eat with someone, you are sharing that activity. And there's some who've correlated that to those miracles, 4,000, 5,000, to this, to the thing that happens in one of the Gospels where Jesus, they don't know who he is until he breaks the bread and gives it to them. They're like, that's who it is. That what you're supposed to understand is that it's inside of that new humanity that you understand and see the life of God present in Jesus and the life of God present in the ones that you're with. That's what's happening. There's a whole theologies of food around all that.
Go, Liz. Say something really great. No, say something great. After you.
Well, I don't know how great it will be, but so Matt and I just moved here from California after being out here quite a long time, and we're developing friend groups and relationships. And I had some old friends from Bible camp that introduced me to friends, and anyway, we ended up being at these sort of friends of friends' houses over the weekend that we've been sort of welcomed into their group, and we just labored at their house all day. We took down doors, and they were going to sell it, so we were cleaning out mulch and moved bricks and did all this stuff, and they were fresh friends to us, but like that moment of, I keep thinking this word like breaking, that when you break yourself open and pour yourself on other people, like there's an anointing that happens, and there's like a meeting that happens. Like when you said even like the breaking of the bread, it reminded me actually of the alabaster jar.
I was just going to look at that.
That was the breaking of what could be precious.
She broke open the vase.
And that Christ breaks open the bread, and it moves into that place of need, and that place of like, I see you, I know what you need, and I can like even like the alabaster or whatever, like you said, that was the anointing that Christ needed on the cross to be sustained. And that there's a sustaining that we do for each other when we break open and just don't hold in our treasures, but are open.
So, and then maybe connected to the alabaster jar, to the breaking of the bread, maybe that whole narrative of, take, this is my body broken. So the brokenness of Jesus's life, physical body, is also this opening and this blessing, and the breaking of us, or the breaking open, becomes really.
And it releases power, and it releases movement. Like these people, now I feel so connected to these people because I moved their bricks. You know that I blew my Saturday for that activity.
Yeah. Was it yesterday, the windy one? So it's kind of a throwaway Saturday.
But it was cold. It would, we're outside in the cold and like digging through rotten leaves and you know.
It's really something. Still want to follow that, or?
No.
Okay.
After the last couple decades, I've had the privilege of working in restaurants, and this is something that I've thought for a very long time, is seeing people share this experience of food and beverage. All different, everything from a blind date to a dad coming in late after work and joining his family who's already ordered for him, to like people celebrating Mother's Day like today where the restaurants are packed with brunch, to just people that said, oh my gosh, this is the first time we've gotten out since we've had our baby, it's been a year, now we're out on a date. Just, you're all walks of life. Watching this experience happen and getting to share people's lives and stories, especially people that come back again and again, and you see their kids grow and everything. I've always felt this is like more of a church for me than traditional church has been to me growing up. And now, with the thing that I do now, where things are like in our home, I'm doing this wine education thing in my home, where I have these meals and people are sharing all this food, like different people that I wouldn't normally have over, with bringing all their different stories in. And Becky and I were sitting down, Becky's my wife, we were sitting down the other day for breakfast, and I said, this dining room has an energy in it that it's never had before. And I don't know if people are into energies and all this stuff, but I kind of buy into it a little bit, and I gotta say, it feels different. And it feels like it's taking on more life and more like goodness with these meals that are shared and these stories that are shared and this bread that is broken. So I totally get this, I'm all about it, and I think there's something very, very spiritual about food.
It's I was picking up after moving the communion stuff over there, and this bread that we get, which is top notch from the world-class bakery across the street, is really rather crumbly too. So it always makes this mess, right? And sometimes some of us are like, oh, you gotta sweep all this stuff off and vacuum it up. And maybe that's like the point, right, of like brokenness, right? Is that it creates that mess.
There's a quote, maybe from Hopkins or someone like that, that says be drowned and be crumbled, because when you're broken down, then flowers come out. But I didn't quote it at all. It's a little bit more than that.
Sometimes I go for runs, and when a run is magical, you get this sort of combination of your spirit and your body and your will all sort of feeling together on something. So you start thinking thoughts in this kind of real right brain sort of, the world is all connected and it's all beautiful sort of way, right? It's kind of a neurological experience that people have. And you're not the clearest thinking at that point, but you might be the most alive thinking, right? So I don't know what you do about that. But sometimes I stop into the little porta potties in around the lakes. And sometimes I go into the ones that don't have the urinal, so you have to use the sitter part. And I find them to be strangely glorious. Because when you look down in that hole, there's no faking it, right? You're like, every person that sat here was like, oh my gosh, I've got to stop in a public place and, do fecal matter things or urinary things inside of that world. It's kind of, and I think not disconnected from the other biological side of this eating and breaking. And there are times, and if anybody's been on long trips together or with your family, or if you've been in your own car and you're a parent and you have to reach in the back when your kid's getting car sick and like, no, throw up in my hand, right? Who says that, right? But somehow, or when people are sick, or when someone's sort of at that very human level.
When you're in Guatemala and everyone is dysentery.
When you're in Guatemala, and we go to Guatemala and we stay in this hotel and you can hear people.
Next to each other.
Yeah, and you hear that humanity. There's a lot of ways in which most of the time we go in by ourselves, we take care of our business, we wash our hands, we come out cleaner and more refreshed than ever, and we don't talk about it. That's normal. Then there are times when you're just sort of met with well, there you have it. That's me too. And I wonder if the gospel isn't sometimes calling us to say, there's a breaking, there's an opening, there's an honesty that we're called to. And we don't always get there by choice, right? Nobody stops in one of those restrooms on purpose. I don't really have to go, but I think I'll just stop in. It's only in that moment when you feel you've joined in with everybody else in this very base and sort of undesirable way. Anyway, it's a nice thought to leave on. But anybody else with anything about this story? Because it is a story of taking in bodies and breaking in bloods.
I just think the sentence that I've heard thousands of times, he took a cup, gave thanks, and gave it to them. And I just wonder, what is it like when Jesus gives
this.
Yeah, it's like, it makes me have a little more respect for the whole process of saying grace before.
Yeah.
I wonder how he did it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the kind of thing, that's where kind of where my mind goes on this a lot too, is like, you know, this is a great story, but like, what did he say? Because that would be real, that seems interesting. Like, I'd like to know that. Like, does he read something? Does he recite something? Does he make it up? Is it the same thing every time? Is there a thing you say when you do that deal? Yeah.
I'm struck by the phrase, when I drink it in a new way in God's kingdom. What is that new way? What? There's a new meaning then to this pouring out. And what does that mean? What will that look like? And just like he's got something in his head.
Yeah. And as you know, Bible translations, this one's called the Common English Bible, they're going to always pick certain phrases. Some translations of the Bible you'll read, that doesn't say, drink it in a new way. It will say, till I drink it anew.
Sure.
And then people are like, oh, it means that Jesus has been made new.
Right.
And this one chooses to say, no, I think it means there's going to be a new way of engaging in that practice.
Right.
It's a way thing, not an ontological thing. So it gets intriguing. My little childish mind goes to when I was a kid. I don't know if they still make these. When I was a kid, they had those. They were kind of new back then, because like in the late '60s, early '70s. There were those. What are those straws? I'm gonna look around for the older people. Those straws that like. What were those called?
Crazy straws?
Crazy straw. Was that right? Silly straw. Crazy. Like you drink and you could watch it kind of come up and tool around. And I remember the first time I had one of those. It was like, this is a totally new way to drink this thing. You know. Probably something more significant than that going on here. My friend Paul, he was my most lazy friend ever. He by his own admission, he was so lazy. He would lay down and he would put pop in a cup and then have cut a straw. So laying on the side watching TV, he could drink out of it. This guy like came up with new ways to drink things all the time, side drinking and all that. Probably more meaningful than that. Well, we'll pick up the rest of that story right there next week. We could have read all that tonight, so be thankful we didn't go that far. But we have to get done in a couple weeks because we gotta finish this thing up. We'll sing. We'll have our own take of communion here. We won't spend long with it, but we will break bread. We'll make a big mess around. You pour some juice. It might spill. There's going to be wine over here. We all serve each other. We take home the leftovers, if you would, please. And then we'll have a little blessing, and then we'll go. Oh, and this is a new number.
Yes.
Oh, it's terrific. Terrific little thing.
Yeah, this is a new tune that I wrote a couple months ago, and I didn't mean to do. It's Mother's Day. I wrote this song for my mom. My dad has cancer, and it's gone and come back, and it came back a couple months ago in inoperable ways, but he's been going through this treatment, and my mom has been writing these phrases on this plate for my dad every time he leaves for work, and then she's just been taking pictures and sending them to my brothers, and one of the phrases was, "Fear not." And I wrote this because in talking with my mom, I just understood that she was, like, didn't know exactly what to do with all of this information. And that there was, like, this script that you're supposed to follow when disaster strikes. And she didn't know what role she was supposed to take, if she was supposed to be the confident mother to her children, or the strong spouse to her husband, or if she was allowed to be angry or hurt or fearful. And it hit me in a different way, because I just wanted to reach out to my mom and just say, it doesn't matter, just be however you need to be, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid
unsure, just feel it all and just let it be a part of you, and then let go of it, what you need to let go of, and hold on to the things you need to hold on to. So I just wrote this for my mom, and it's just a prayer for her, and also kind of that shaking moment of, it's okay, fear not. I wanna see you with your head held high. I wanna see you with your heart broke open wide. I wanna see you when you doubt your steps. I wanna see you when you think nothing is left. 'Cause I'll be your confidant. I won't be your strength even when you're not, and I will be your mainstay. I will be your answer, just don't be afraid. I wanna be there when you lose your grip. I wanna be there when you start to slip. I wanna be there when you can't catch your breath. I wanna be there when you think nothing is left. 'Cause I'll be your confidant. I won't be your strength even when you're not, and I will be your mainstay. I will be your answer, just don't be afraid. Fear not my love. Fear not my love. Fear not my love. Fear not my
Yeah. If somebody wants to read this for us, sometimes we do it in unison, sometimes we do one line at a time. Tonight, maybe somebody would be our reader. This is our little introduction to communion before we break bread and pour and drink and eat and make messes and clean up. Somebody want to be a reader?
We take communion by serving and eating bread and wine together in community with followers of Jesus around the world and throughout all ages. We enter this mystery proclaiming and having the faith of Jesus as the Messiah, whose life, death, burial, resurrection, ascension, and sending show the love of God for the world, free us from sin, and initiate the kingdom of God in our world in new ways, for the benefit and blessing of all the world.
Yeah, so make your way about the room. If you want to have communion, you're welcome to. If you don't, no one's going to force it on you. If it's more meaningful for you to have a glass of wine and a piece of bread, you're welcome to do that too. But make your way about the room, serve each other, we'll sing, then we'll have a little blessing, and we'll go home.
shame and confusion. May all who desire my ruin turn back in disgrace. May those who say turn back in shame. But may all those who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. May those who love your salvation always say, let God be exalted. Oh, let God be exalted. Yet I am poor and needy. Come quickly to me, oh God. how the name is wrong. All the lovers undercover, you can take them all. It gets better, we want to say, just hold on. Hold on. Love is never the wrong way. You're a part of this. You're in the heart of this. You were made by God. And all that loneliness that tries to pull you in, it won't pull you down. 'Cause of all the blessings we hope you're guessing, don't you know that you're